last video, we talked about how to apply the 48-hour book method when creating any type of content. We were more specifically talking about an e-course, right? Like e-course is just another type of content. And in that conversation, we talked about how you, Ed, and your customer could validate what was the most appropriate customer focus. We talked about different customer focuses, meaning different types of customers, their backgrounds and what triggers them. We discussed how we could do a quick SMIQ, or single most important question survey, by interviewing 3 to 5 people, so that then we get some key insights that help us to potentially even build a landing page and test the appeal of the e-course. So what happened since our last video?
Well, yes, we did in terms of working with clients. We worked with on the customer avatar. We had a couple of meetings and get clarity on the type of person that we are targeting. Now, the drawback in certain situations people have, a lot of my clients have this, is that they haven't previously built an audience, so they don't have a readily accessible audience. So then I'm left with three options. Basically, in my mind, there are three approaches that I can take to figure out what the potential audience are thinking, so that the course that is built or the curriculum that has been built is not, is not going off the track in a way that's not serving the clients or customers. Then what's the point of even creating a course? It won't sell. The first approach is I go out, reach out to people, find out who the target customers are, and then survey and research them. That's okay, but that makes it a little bit bigger project, like longer, lengthier project than usually like the time scale that we work with, 3 to 6 months. Then it's a proper research project, because not only I have to research the people, I have to also find the people. And since I'm not part of that business, if somebody from within the business does it, it would be much more effective. So
yeah, in fact, that's one of the tips that we give our coachees, right? Like, reach out to 3 to 5 people that you think are they fit the customer avatar that you've defined, and talk to them directly, people that you already know, so that it doesn't take any time or even courage, because we hear this objection a lot, like, why am I going to talk to random people out there? No, it's not random. It's people that are probably related to your area of expertise already, and can help you understand better what the customer avatar is looking for.
Yeah, but luckily for this particular customer, client, we have fairly good understanding of the avatar, and it looks and feels like, okay, so we may run some experiments first. So the second approach that we are thinking of taking is go ahead with a dummy campaign, in the sense like make a promise of what we want to help people with, what we were thinking initially, and that was the suggestion that, Vasco, you were giving as well, and I was rejecting in the beginning, but the more we thought about it, the more it makes sense. So we run a campaign selling the product before the product
and that's
is
very
even
important. It's not a campaign that in somehow tries to find out what people will do. It's a campaign that tests if people do what you expect them to do. This is very important. It's kind of a, when you hear it the first time, it almost sounds like a semantic difference, but it's actually a fundamental difference, right? Like what I tell my clients is that you never know what the people want, even when they tell you, because they don't know what they want. One thing you can always rely on is that people know what they have wanted in the past, right? Like when we reach to memory, we ask something, in this situation, what did you do in the past? That's a valid question. That's something we can use for research. But a much more effective, although if you don't understand the avatar, it is a little bit like a shot in the dark, is to actually put something out, try to sell something, even if it's just a pre-sale or just get people's emails to sign up to get some access to some information, not the whole e-course yet, but some information. Like all of those are concrete validated actions, right? Like we're asking the avatar to take an action. And if they do take an action, that's information. And if they don't take an action, that's also information.
Yeah.
But here's the key thing. We started with this obstacle. You mentioned my client doesn't yet have an audience. This test we are talking about, like landing page test or a sale test or a pre-sale test, they are designed to not only give you information, but to find your audience, like to start building that audience. And that's one of the things we're very strong on in the 48-hour book method, is that everything we do is about building an audience, because you can't research an audience that doesn't exist. You can't understand a customer you don't have contact to.
Yeah. So going back to the structure of 48-hour book method, in 48-hour book method, the way we launch the idea to public is before you write the book, right? So we put up a page that makes that promise that you've been thinking of making. However, in 48-hour book method, we do a little bit preliminary research. And in this particular case, I'm just delaying that preliminary research a little bit to be done after we test the promise in the market. And then in 48-hour book method, you get subscribers. In this particular case, we can do that as well. And we can also just go full ahead and sell the product itself.
Tell us a little bit more about the test, though. So what is the test that you have agreed with your client to run now?
So the way we are doing is because we feel that we have fairly good understanding of the customer avatar based on like the 3 meetings we had. So we went from super broad everybody as target market to a super narrow, where the target market is somebody very specifically knows that they want to be an Indian wedding photographer, for example, right from the get-go, to a little bit somewhere in the middle, which is a bit broader, which is somebody who want to be who want to earn premium income or full-time equivalent photography income, which is like 80 to 100,000 in the UK terms, pounds. And they're not able to do that, but they want to up-level their skills. And the case that we are going to test here is this, like, hey, if you want to up-level your photography career, the best opportunity right now is to work with Indian wedding photography, because they're all premium and they have they have a specific requirement. If you specialize in that niche, that's your fastest ticket to become an elite photographer in wedding photography scenario. And especially if you're inclined towards Indian wedding, even better. The other benefits of this approach, like in the side of this test, this is not the main promise, but is this, that the skills required to become an Indian wedding photographer are surpasses all the other skills that you will need to be another wedding photographer or just a landscape photographer.
Yeah, so it's
or
a superset of skills, right?
Yeah,
like there's more skills there than what you would need to just do the normal non-ethnic wedding photography. So this also means to me, if I understand you correctly, that you actually started to get a good handle on what is the triggers that you're aiming at. And triggers basically are what makes people take a decision to purchase something, right? Like the big thing in the 48-hour book method is the triggers, is what makes someone want to do something. It's not, what their context is and so on. Those things are important, but they are not really the trigger. So you're going for the trigger, if I understand correctly, that you're already a photographer, or a budding photographer at least, and you want to go into a service niche like Indian wedding photography that provides you with a lot more income than other niches, right? Like that's the trigger you're aiming for.
That's correct. Yes. So we changed.
So how have you designed the test? Like, you're selling something, all right? But like,
right.
Walk us through the details.
Right. So in 48-hour book method, we just put simple, page and people are invited to opt in. The investment is very little, but now this is a sales scenario and of a product which would be fairly priced, like from at least $2,500 and up. So we cannot just do that. Let people just go on the page and buy on their own. So what we want is we want the people to come on a call with us. Now that call works doubles as a sales call as well as customer discovery call.
Yeah, that's
So
very important.
yeah.
All customer conversations are customer discovery conversations, even the sales conversations. That's a very important aspect.
Yeah, yeah. So in the initial launch, we will just do a presentation. Maybe it could be a pre-recorded webinar or video sales letter, just like 10 minutes video or a nice video from the client. Depend on, we haven't gotten to the creativity side of it, showing how being an Indian photographer looks like or whatever, something we sell, make the promise, the big promise, and get people on a call. And that would be with professional salespeople. So they'll take care of the sales conversation, but also at the same time provide me with the research that is necessary for us to create the curriculum of the program before we launch. So when we sell it, we sell at a delay. So that means if people are enrolling right now, the course for them starts 2 months from now or
So
1 month from
it's
now.
almost like a pre-sale, but actually what you're doing is that you're just putting the start of the course somewhere in the future so that you have time to build the content should the sale be a success, right?
Yeah, the way I look at it is like the first launch of anything is better done as an event. So we are converting this course into an event, one-time event that's recorded, or once created, it just stays as a on-demand content. But the doing it as an event allows us to create this delay between the sales, the time of the sales to the time of creation, and this gives us enough time to become relevant to exactly.
And this is one of the things that we hear a lot from our clients and also from people who read the book is this objection that, you know, I have nothing to sell. Like I can't do a sale test if I have nothing to sell. And this sell in advance or a pre-sale, you're almost doing a pre-sale, is not really a pre-sale, but it's almost as a pre-sale, makes it completely possible for us to start packaging our experience and start making money even before all of that experience is translated into content yet. Now, of course, we need to have a good understanding of the avatar. You guys had, you know, some conversations that led to a couple of triggers, which is very important to understand what triggers you're aiming for. Because if you're not testing your triggers, you don't know what you're testing, right? And then you're also doing this, which I think is a brilliant idea, adding this SMIQ aspect into the sale process, which is that sales conversation you have, the call, in the call, right? Like when the avatar comes on the call, you start asking questions to figure out more about what they are looking for. And this is great for non-book products, like in this case, a high-value e-course product. It's a great way to start because first of all, the thing that I always say, that I always tell product managers, that sales is the most effective product development activity. If you haven't done any sales, you don't know what product you should be developing. Right? This is very important because a lot of product managers out there, they sit tight in at a desk in some office far away from their customers designing their product. Now, this, of course, is the wrong way to develop a product. The right way is to do what you're doing with this example, which is to actually put up a sale, or in this case, a sale into the future, or a pre-sale, which is a kind of a variant of this. And then through the process of sales, actually understand what the avatars are looking for, what are their obstacles, what are their objections. Because when you go on a sales call with someone, you will get all of the objections.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we then need to create content around, right? Like this is very important.
So there are some objections that will go in the sales objection handling, and there are other objections that goes in the product objection handling. So the simple way to look at it is people have two big type of problems. One is, can it be done? Is it possible? Second is, can I do it? So is it possible to include all your sales objections? So can it be done, all sales objections? But can I do it? Can I do it? It's okay if others are doing. Can I do it? That's when your curriculum design, that's where your curriculum design comes in.
Yeah. And this brings one of the main aspects of copywriting that we talk about in the 48-hour book method, which is something we use in the landing page as well. By the way, you should be able to see the URL to get the book on the bottom of this video right now. And the process is find the objection, build the rebuttal, add value, right? Like it's not just well, I don't have time, and then you come up with something, and then you stay there. No, it's when the customer says, I don't have time for doing all of these steps that you're telling me to do, then you go, okay, so here's how you go around finding the time. And then on top of that, you add a lot of other stuff, what we call the bonus or the no-brainer value offer that gets the customer really over the edge, right? Like, don't forget that the reason why we're building these products, whether it's an e-course or writing a book, is to make somebody succeed, right? It's to help somebody succeed. So you have to tell them also how not only can you get the time that you said you didn't want to, or didn't have, but also if you get the time, you get all of these other benefits, right? Like that's what we tell Jennifer in the 48-hour book method. Well, you don't have time now, and that's perfectly understandable because you're busy consulting and so on. But here's the thing. Now you're money rich and time poor, but if you continue to be money rich and time poor, at some point you will be money poor and time rich. Right? And you have to switch that dynamic so that you can start building that audience first, then that content, and then ultimately getting better gigs, or in your customer's case or your client's case, to find the avatars that he can sell the course to, and then later on even recruit to increase, to scale up his own business.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that is very important for us to consider in this conversation with the clients. Is this we were supposed to talk about this sales page experiment, which you already explained in some detail, and the whole sales conversation is like this, right? Like you highlight an objection, you do the rebuttal, and then you add value. The customer comes up with another objection, you do the rebuttal, and then you add value. And ultimately, the biggest objection of them all, which everybody's afraid of, but it's the most welcome objection, is this is too expensive for me, right? And this is when you're doing the actual sale. Like when you get to that conversation, then you can do not only the rebuttal, like you're getting this course for, whatever, $2,500, but if you'd go to school, it would take you 5 years and, $50,000 to $60,000 to get the same kind of training.
Yeah, this is a mental shift that I'm pondering about in teaching people in my own brand, that like you need to think like universities and schools. They have figured everything out. They sell all their courses as an event or pre-sale. Every single one of them are sold as a pre-sale. So they have figured out that's the same as Hollywood. It's a proper storytelling structure that they are following. They figured out over years, and we are here as entrepreneurs trying to reinvent the wheel. That's already been invented. I mean, technology is not going to change what we do. It's just going to speed up, slow down, or change the way we do what we already do, right? So I think pre-sale is still the key word. So to have the mentality of pre-sale, that's a core of 48-hour book method, in a way that we pre-sell the idea that you will read a book. Here, we pre-sell the idea that you will consume the course, or this course is built around you. It's just that in 48-hour book method, they opt in to sign up to become a newsletter or email list subscriber. Here, they book a call. Of course, we will put an opt-in mechanism, and in the application to book a call, or during the time they book a call, we'll ask the same questions that we ask in SMIQ in 48-hour book method. So landing page, survey, appointment, and sale. This is how this pre-launch is structured.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole started last video when we started talking about the problem that Ed's client has, right? Like he wants to build an e-course, and how can we apply the 48-hour book method to that goal? And this episode is about preparing to pre-sell your e-course using the 48-hour book method. And that's something that you actually just mentioned, which is very important. The pre-sale mentality, the pre-sale approach is core to the whole idea of the 48-hour book method. And here's the thing. You can start writing your book by first pre-selling an e-course, using the e-course clients to tell you what actually the book should be about. And as you write the content of the e-course, you're writing the content of the book. So this is the other. There's two important aspects to this 48-hour book method use of content, right? Like the pre-sell idea, so pre-sell so that you know what to create in terms of content. And once you create the content, you can reuse the content in many different media, in blog posts, in books, in articles, in conference talks, and of course also in e-courses, right? So the 48-hour book method is not only a way for you to get access to your customers and start generating revenues very quickly, but it's also a way for you to generate content that is out there selling your services in multiple medium, like, e-course selling platforms, YouTube videos like what we are doing right here, conference talks, and of course ultimately also the book, which is what we
and the
got
business.
started
I
with.
mean, I'm a living example of this. I mean, this journey of us started in, I think, 2017, when we had the 48-hour book workshop to start working on this book, 48-hour book method. Since then, I went on. This book ultimately has led me to get a career and a job or job and a career in product management, in online courses, e-courses, online educational world. And it got us. Now, the book is not written yet. We already have a pretty decent, or decently successful, I should say, 48-hour book method coaching program. Now, I have got a couple of high-level course academies that I'm helping them build. They all of them are following this methodology to a certain extent, with just minor differences. For example, instead of just opt-in to become a reader, we are pre-selling here in this case. So just changing some tools here and there, minor adjustments. It's actually converted into a full-fledged career, a full-time earning, like full-time living, and the book is not out yet.
And we use this with other authors who are writing books with us, right? Like that's also an important aspect. Well, that was a great video. We'll come back next week with some more 48-hour book method content. See you all.
Thank you.